Battle control initialized.
Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Red Alert Global League, Season 9, Minions, Round 2. In the upper right corner, we have ioverthougthis playing as the British. And in the lower left corner, we have Spetznas84 playing as Russia. Let's go to the production tab. Spetznas with a 2-second advantage on the placement of his barracks. Seconds count in the early game. Seconds count in the whole game, but especially the early game. Spetznas coming out with a dog kennel, and we'll see how he incorporates that. He's got some grenadiers moving out 2 by 2. Let's see what ioverthougthis is up to. And he's just coming out with a whole bunch of party boys, riflemen if you will. We'll see if Spetznas84 is able to make these grenadiers work. Spetznas in yellow, ioverthothis in green. People seem to pick the same colors for the whole thing here. Spetznas84 incorporating a dog into the mix, yet to move out. The K9 unit providing good line of sight in the field, but that line of sight being wasted just sitting right next to barracks like that. Here we're coming into the first engagement of the game. Spetznas is going to trade well, but I don't think it's going to last. That dog gets taken out quickly. Trades well. ioverthothis doesn't advance into that. ioverthothis paying attention. But boy, those grenades take out a power plant very quickly. ioverthothis still out of power surplus. He's going to have to queue up a power plant there. He's still building his war factory. That's going to put him at low power. ioverthothis looking for a flank. Spetznas smells something, despite not having a dog. Dispatches his troops to his eastern ore field. He comes out with another dog to provide line of sight advantage in this Soviets versus Allies match. Army value is still a bit even. Actions per minute are relatively even. Spetznas leading at 25.5 and ioverthothis at 19.4. ioverthothis going war factory first. He's now at a power deficit. At least he should be. He's not, though. What did I miss? Did he sell something? He sold something. We got an army brewing from Spetznas84. He's going to be coming out with his service depot in about 17 seconds. Spetznas comes out with a flak truck. Spetznas also still has grenadiers waiting in the wings. I don't know if they'll get found or not by this rifle contingent. Looks like ioverthothis is just sitting still. The superior line of sight of the infantry division of Spetznas, provided by the doggy, comes in with that flak truck a little too close for comfort and just barely dodges the last missile. That's some good micro right there. He's going to have to take that back to base for repairs now that his service depot is up. ioverthothis incorporating rockets into the party now. Excuse me, Spetznas incorporating rockets into the party now. He's still got that flak truck on the field. It's been repaired. ioverthothis comes out with his service depot. And 25 seconds until we see Spetznas' first expansion MCV. See, that's just way too close. Loses the flak truck by moving it in just a little bit too close. Nothing to capture on this map. It's all about the infantry. Spetznas low on cash, but diverting all of his resources to get that MCV out on the field, and here it is. Wonderful. Got a bit of a standoff brewing here, but the superior line of sight. Oh, we got a ranger out from ioverthoughtthis. And he's not going to support the infantry with the ranger. I disagree with that. Instead, he's looking for a flank. There is none. He's looking for that MCV. No, he's not. Ranger, of course, with the best line of sight of any ground unit in the game, providing excellent battle awareness. But not invincible. Economic expansion on the way for both players. Both players have a refinery queued up. ioverthougthis committed to moving out towards Spetznas' forces. Moving into a stationary infantry position supported by the dog. The dog gets taken out. We'll see how he trades. ioverthothis not trading super well. Really committed to moving out north. Might have been a better idea just to go south, honestly. First expansion out for Spetznas84. Drops another refinery. And a sizable infantry force brewing from Spetznas. He's up to nearly 10,000 army value. ioverthothis at 7,500. Spetznas84 now on 8 harvesters. And here comes an offensive from ioverthothis. He's looking for a weak point in Spetznas' brigade. And he may have just found it. So many ways to flank on this map. And if those infantry divisions keep attacking one by one, they are all going to get taken out. ioverthothis, thinking about it, deciding, maybe I'll move my MCV to where there aren't any enemy troops. Finds a cold spot. And he's ready to deploy his refinery in just a second. Makings of a Maginot line. Spetznas84 getting ready to move in with that heavy tank. Moves in with his infantry first, not trading well at all. Line of sight provided by 2 light tanks of ioverthothis. Spetznas84 getting ready to contest that ore field up north. And ioverthothis comes out with his first expansion. Spetznas moves in, gets chased off. That tank is on a sliver of health. Ironically, the center of the map nearly devoid of troops. ioverthothis coming out with lots and lots of soldiers. Trying his best to hold on to that ore patch. Spetznas finds a weak point and diverts his army. That's going to leave his ore mines open to attack. Light tank finding great crushes, taking out the heavy tank. It was on a sliver of health. There's a mine layer out from Spetznas, and Spetz is on radar tech. Small contingent of troops defending it against light tank harassment. And ioverthothis sniffs out one of those grenadiers. Oh, wow. Moving in his troops a bit too close. He's got that V2. He should just hang back. ioverthothis doing an excellent job of static positioning. But that's not going to last for long. With a combination of flame troopers and massive infantry, they are just going to push right in. Spetznas following it up with his MCV, going to give him build radius on that next door patch. ioverthoughtthis pops a pillbox and takes out a couple of Spetz's infantry forces. Spetznas still with the line of sight advantage provided by that yak. Spetznas unable to contest the center. Just a few tanks there. ioverthoughtthis is just going all in with these troops. Finds a hole all the way to ioverthoughtthis. No, ioverthougthis finds a hole all the way to Spetznas' main base. And he's going to have a field day with those barracks. Lots of rocket troopers in that mix. Not a whole lot going on there. Lots of static defenses from ioverthoughtthis. Lots of static defenses. Lots of armor that we've seen that has gotten taken down by rocket troopers. And now he's moved on to aircraft. He just doesn't have the cash to support this kind of stuff. He is absolutely broke right now. And it appears as though ioverthoughtthis is gaining the upper hand on the map. That Tesla coil heavily contesting that ore field and driving off the harvester of ioverthoughtthis. ioverthougthis down to 5 harvesters to Spetznas' 8 harvesters. ioverthoughtthis leading the way in 38 actions per minute. And up north, that MCV is going to have to find a new home. ioverthoughtthis doesn't see the MCV. Spetznas moves it out in the nick of time with the line of sight advantage provided by that yak. Spetz is going to need more than just that Tesla coil down there. But he's got no defenses queued up. Once again, ioverthoughtthis finds a hole into the enemy base, completely uncontested except for a small contingent. ioverthoughtthis doesn't follow, or Spetznas doesn't follow him into his main base. And now his MCV is taking fire. ioverthoughtthis floating 8K. Has to pull his harvesters, but doesn't lose much. Loses another flak truck. He's getting pulled apart here. ioverthoughtthis picks perfect time. He's got critical mass with the infantry. That Tesla coil can't do squat. And he's going to lose that MCV. No, pulls it back just in the nick of time. More tank raids. Pops the harvester just before it makes it home. And that was a waste of money putting that Tesla coil right in front of all those rocket troopers like that. Transfer, they get within range of that flame tower. You can see how much more effective that flame tower is. Spetznas transfers the majority of his harvesters over to a safer location. He's still at 8 harvesters. ioverthoughtthis at 5 harvesters. Making it work though. And another tank raid coming in. And this is going to be an interesting one right here. But those 4 heavy tanks, that's no joke. Spetznas diverting his forces back to the main base. His service depot's under fire as Soviets. That is absolutely fatal to lose your service depot. And a dual attack. Another attack with the contingent, sleepy contingent from the south. ioverthoughtthis attacking the radar dome. Looking for soft targets, not finding anything. Those troops are back at base and defending well. And that was a para drop. No, it wasn't a para drop. Yes, it was a para drop. It was a para drop from Spetznas. Getting taken out quickly by the pillbox of ioverthoughtthis. ioverthougthis infantry charge into dual flame towers. This is going to hurt. But with all those rocket troopers, they are going to take it out. Also finds a hole with those medium tanks. Softening to the defenses of Spetznas84. Finds the flank on that V2 rocket launcher with those tanks and pulls all of those tanks out of there just in the nick of time. That was absolutely brilliant. This map is so very positional, because those, trying to find the fire, there it is, chasing off the tanks a little bit more. This map is so positional with all these cliffs and everything like that. If you get a V2 or a Tesla coil in the right position, you can really do a lot of damage. And an eco raid from ioverthoughtthis. Spetznas was on 10 harvesters. He is on 10 harvesters. He was on 11. Lots of rocket troopers moving in, and that tank survives on a bit of health and just parks it right there. ioverthoughtthis moving in on Spetznas' expansion, uprooting the MCV. ioverthoughtthis maintaining troop mass. Both players nearly even in army value, despite Spetznas having a distinct income advantage. ioverthougthis tries to raid the eco on the north side with tanks. He's not getting through those Tesla coils. He's got to find a new way through. And this is not going to turn out well for these tanks. Lots of rocket troopers in that mix. Setting the tanks in one at a time like that, that might be a bad rally point. And the calm before the storm. Spetznas with nearly 10,000 more value and 7,400 income to ioverthoughtthis is 4,000. Nothing on base to contest that medium tank, just roaming around. Spetznas is looking for a flank on ioverthoughtthis. Spetznas also ready to do some eco raiding, not pulling the trigger on this troop contingent here. Maybe he's waiting for reinforcements coming in from up north. Going to find another flank, but that position is covered. One of those tanks finds its way through. And he's going to do some minor harassment there. Spetznas moving in without leading with the tanks. Chasing off that medium tank. No rockets in that contingent though, or is that one right there? Nope, that's all riflemen. And a small contingent of forces from Spetznas takes out ioverthougthis' southern ore refinery. That medium tank is a pesky son of a gun. He is just whittling down the harvesters. Spetznas perhaps concentrating, pulling his forces back from the top. I disagree with that. I think he should move right on in. He can definitely bust that pillbox and get through there. Spetznas down to 9 harvesters. Getting some heavy tanks. into the base of I Ever Thought This. Takes out a medium tank, not much else. Moves in up north, pops a pillbox and gets through, takes out the refinery and an ore truck. Brings I Ever Thought This down to 4 ore trucks, now 3 ore trucks, and he's got to keep pushing with that army. He's got a big advantage here. I Ever Thought This calling it good game at 20 minutes and 24 seconds. This map absolutely nearly impossible to cover all your flanks. There are so many. 853 to 695. Let's go on to the eco graph. Spetznas with an advantage early game, perhaps microing his harvesters, and another big advantage from minutes 5 until about minute 9 when a couple of his ore trucks get harassed off of their ore patches. Spetznas just hanging in and using the B2s well to hold off the infantry, using the flame towers to prevent the mass of the infantry from getting too close, providing himself with line of sight from his aircraft, and just both players really just poking at flanks. The one thing that I did notice is that I Ever Thought This seemed to be using either tanks or infantry, and not really using the two in combination. So that's really important, to have tanks out front tanking for your infantry, having the infantry doing the majority of damage. Looking at the army graph, Spetznas gets ahead, stays ahead, and several battle events, one of which very decisive for Spetznas84 around minute 17, where he's just able to take out some of these troops with those rockets and find a flank. So that's the first game going to Spetznas84. Game 2.
Battle control terminated. Battle control initialized.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Red Alert Global League Season 9 Minions Round 2. In the upper right corner, playing as the British, we have I Ever Thought This in green. And in the lower left corner, playing as Russia again, we have Spetznas84 in gold. Let's go to the production tab. Both players dead even. Spetznas just popping down that barracks just a little bit quicker, ready with the mouse click. We've got a total of 2 oil derricks on this map and 1 communications center in the center of the map. Spetznas84 moving out southward, trying to capture that oil derrick. He's got a engineer in that mix. Meanwhile, I Ever Thought This is moving out north, and he's going to capture his natural derrick. Not a whole lot of ore on this map, especially in the middle, making it kind of a no man's land. Spetznas84 is going to go check out what's going on. Walking across the map, trying to give himself some battle awareness to see if there's a troop contingent on its way. Spetznas is going War Factory first. I Ever Thought This has gone double ref. And that's the first oil derrick of the game going to Spetznas. I Ever Thought This is not far behind. He's got a big bag of troops brewing. Double the army value of Spetznas84, but it's all riflemen. There's a flak truck from Spetznas. He's learned from last game to keep that thing a little bit further away and just poke at the troops. He's going to be able to drive them back because ioverthougthis knows he's got no business being out there with rocket troops only, or rifle troops only. And that is one sneaky peeky engineer. We'll keep an eye on him. Ioverthougthis possibly returning in kind with that engineer. Spetznas moving that flak truck just a bit too close. Both players a bit stalled for cash at the moment. Ioverthothis with nearly double the income. Well, he's not that far ahead, but he is ahead in income. Double ref gives a great early game advantage. Spetznas on 3 harvesters. Ioverthothis only on 2. A light tank out from ioverthothis. We've seen him use these effectively last game. Both players watching their flanks. Both players with a sneaky engineer. And some scouting from the light tank. Looks for crushes, doesn't find them. Finds some crushes. And picking off those infantry. Very well. Wow! That is some great crush action right there. That was by far the most effective light tank I have seen this entire game. Ioverthothis 25 actions per minute to Spetznas is 19. Spetznas' engineer going down at some point. And Spetznas is out with his first MCV at 5 minutes. And that is an absolutely massive globule of troops brewing from Ioverthothis. Ioverthothis about dead even. Both players dead even economically. 5 harvesters and 1 oil derrick to their names respectively. That engineer still alive. Pulls back. Likewise, Ioverthothis' engineer still alive. And we'll see if Ioverthothis backs up this troop blob with anything at all. A good eco slide from Spetznas. Ioverthothis still yet to come out with his first expansion. There's his first expansion MCV. And there's that pesky light tank. Ioverthothis deciding to move north with that MCV, moves out with about half the army. And that light tank goes down to a rocket that barely just tracks that light tank. Spetznas takes away that oil derrick from Ioverthothis. Spetznas now in control of both oil derricks and also on 7 harvesters with a distinct income advantage. Ioverthothis comes out with his first expansion, a pop and drop. Meanwhile, Spetznas coming out with a forward barracks, 2 forward barracks, and a Tesla coil. That is a big force though. They could still push right through that. Ioverthothis aware to some extent of the map, but not to the same extent of Spetznas. Ioverthothis is critical mass, moves in, and kills that flak truck. Oil derrick of Spetznas84, now that he stole it from I ever thought this is under fire from that rocket. I ever thought this with control of the north side of the map. Spetznas with control of the south side of the map. And a massive force brewing. I ever thought this ahead by about 2,000 in army value. Also with a huge income advantage of nearly 4,000 at this point. He's going to have to eco slide soon. He's running out. Now, how did he know that engineer was there? That's very interesting. He just went right for it. And this is what I mean by I ever thought this using either tanks or infantry. That mine layer of Spetznas going to town on what will be I ever thought this's third expansion. Those tanks looking for a flank. Running into the scout before they can get a hold of that harvester. And a tank offensive from I ever thought this. He's looking for an eco raid, but the reinforcements of Spetznas84 not far behind. I don't know if they'll be able to take out this harvester. Spetznas has got to pull it. Pulls the harvester. And I ever thought this doesn't lose a single tank during that raid. Spetznas84 taking out a harvester, bringing I ever thought this down to 6 harvesters. I ever thought this blocking the war factory exit. That's too bad. Spetznas had a heavy tank on its way out. Those medium tanks falling to the heavy tanks. Those medium tanks falling to the rocket troopers. Bringing I ever thought this is army value down to about 6,000 below that of Spetznas84. This massive infantry blob finds a weak point. Pushes right through the infantry of Spetznas84. And moves in towards his main base. Mine layer going down. Flame tower is about to go down. Spetznas84 pulling his entire army to defend his main base against this offensive. Moves in with the tank. Pulls the harvesters. And he's just trying his best to hold on, but that conga line, meaning a blob, he's going to lose so much here. I ever thought this, not quitting while he's ahead. Instead keeps pushing. And takes out the MCV. The main MCV of Spetznas84 is down. I ever thought this deciding not to pull back. And his army is completely wiped out. As devastating of an attack that was on Spetznas, Spetznas retains a $25,000 army to, I ever thought this is 6,600. And I ever thought this losing some tanks to Spetznas' mines that he laid previously. Spetznas still with the ability to produce an MCV and just staking out a claim here, but being denied by Spetznas84 over here. I even thought this denied on one ore patch. Loses a refinery. Loses a harvester down to 4 harvesters to Spetznas84's 8 harvesters, and now he's about 5,000, 6,000 behind in income. That husk is going to block the exit. Spetznas84 moving in with a small contingent of troops. And I overthought this, finding a really good spot to park that medium tank. Even if it gets taken out, it's going to block his Spetznaz's barracks there. Alright, so we've got both expansions of I overthought this being taken out, but the MCV makes it. Spetznas84 going radar tech earlier on. He doesn't take out much here with that attack. Maintains a big advantage. Army value of Spetznas84 up to 30,000. Spetznas84 now on building on 5 Qs and maintaining it. And this, I ever thought this, calling it good game at 13 minutes and 18 seconds. 493 to 294. Both games going to Spetznas84. Let's take a look at the eco graph. Both players dead even until about a minute and a half. The double ref build of I overthought this just providing him with an income advantage, but you can see how well the War Factory First build scales. So just by the shape of this line, I overthought this kind of plateaus around 4,200, where Spetznas just keeps going up and up and up and up. Let's take a look at the army value. See this attack right here at minute 9, when I overthought this attacked Spetznaz's main base. Very well timed, very well executed, but didn't pull back. Okay, you've got to retain your infantry. The infantry gets stronger with time because they're going to get vetted and they're going to become more powerful. So even though Spetznas lost a good portion of his main base, including his main MCV, he was able to retain his army with the line of sight value. And, yeah, that's what this army is. It's what was left over of Spetznas from this battle. And he's just able to absolutely walk the field with his army after I overthought this overcommits to an attack on Spetznaz's main. So that's both games going to Spetznas84. Red Alert Global League, Minions, Round 2.
Battle control terminated.